Ireland squad for the Tour of New Zealand has been named, folks. It's a pretty big squad, but remember these guys are playing a couple of games against the Māori All Blacks, and it's not exactly a short trip in case you're sending out replacements if needed. So we'll have a quick look at the squad, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on where it's looking good and if anyone's been overlooked. Plus, there's a few guys who have been officially ruled out with injuries as well. In terms of props, it's fairly standard stuff, with Loughman being the only addition. Bealham, Furlong, Healy, Loughman, O'Toole, and Porter there. The thing about the Irish squad at the moment is you got these two proper elite guys in Furlong and Porter, and then it's kind of other as to who makes up the bench. That might be a little bit harsh on the other guys, but I think the South Africans are probably the measuring stick at the moment that everyone else compares themselves to. In New Zealand, there's conversations about our props as well, but certainly Furlong and Porter, in terms of the starting two, are about as good as you're going to get. It's maybe the conversation about who backs them up, but we'll kind of see. I'm interested to see what kind of impact these guys can have at scrum time and who's able to get on top. Hookers, Heffernan, Herring, and Sheehan. The main name missing there is obviously Ronan Kelleher. He's one of the officially injured guys, so he was never going to be making the tour, which is pretty unfortunate because his career in green is coming along pretty nicely. But I mean, Sheehan has been going on leaps and bounds. Heffernan and Herring have both been there and done it before. But I will also be keen to see, in the absence of Kelleher, does Sheehan go and straight become the main man? Or does he still kind of make that impact from the bench? We'll have to wait and see. But overall, I think if you're Irish, you'd be pretty chuffed with how the front row is looking, barring the injury to Kelleher. Loughman at 26, he should be kind of coming into not quite the peak of his powers as a prop, but certainly it's a good time to get your first international cap and get into that squad. Locks, Byrne, who's apparently named in the locks rather than kind of utilities, but Tadhg Beirne, Henderson, McCarthy, Ryan, and Treadwell. And then they had Baird in the loose forwards when they kind of separated the names by positions. That's kind of an interesting one. I guess Byrne and Baird are both guys that can go with both. They're kind of different players, but I mean, if Tadhg Beirne is going to be in the second row, he adds that extra bit of impact in terms of his ability to break down, especially, which could be an additional threat against New Zealand. McCarthy is your debutant there. He's only 21, I think, so chances of him getting a crack against the AB's proper, I would say, pretty low, but certainly good for him to be in the squad and maybe potentially get a crack at the Māori All Blacks. I would guess it's going to be James Ryan and either Byrne or Henderson, but we'll kind of have to wait and see how the picks go. Treadwell, maybe another guy who gets games against the Māori All Blacks, but he's also been pretty solid this season. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the squad. Lucy's, like I mentioned, Baird is named there alongside Conan, Coombs, Doris, Amani, Prendergast, Timoney, and Van der Fleer. So a fair few guys in the loose forwards. I think that's a pretty good mix of guys with different skill sets. Prendergast is your guy who is uncapped, and he's been having a pretty busy season for Connacht, so that's good kind of reward for his form. Van der Fleer and Timoney are absolute tackling machines. Doris and Coombs with their carries, plus Conan as well. So I do think, and Amani with his work in the air, I do think you've got a proper, and Baird if he's named in the loosies as well. You've got a good mix of guys with different skill sets there. They've all got, like I said, they've got different strengths, and they can certainly, depending on how you kind of mix and match them, cause problems for the All Blacks forward pack as well. Halfbacks, Casey, Gibson, Park, and Murray. I think that's pretty par for the course. That's pretty standard at the moment. I mean, Gibson Park has been the starting guy with Murray. There's the experienced guy on the bench, or if you want to go for a different game plan and add a bit more zip, you can play Casey. So, kind of either way is going to work. Harry, Byrne, Carbery, and Sexton are the fly halves, out halves. Sexton's captain as well for the tour. Carbery, if he can stay fit, will be an interesting one. I mean, I guess Harry Byrne is in all likelihood going to be the guy starting against the Māori All Blacks, but we'll have to wait and see how Sexton and Carbery's fitness go, because to be fair, they're both good players. I mean, Sexton's probably a bit more than a good player, but Weber injury prone, I think, is probably a fair comment as well. Aki, Frawley, Henshaw, Hume, Ringrose, your midfielders, Frawley being the only uncapped guy of the bunch. It's one position that I look at the Irish squad and just go, you guys are absolutely stacked with depth. Remember, Chris Farrell is one of the guys out injured, but I mean, there's no McCloskey there. I'll get to some of the other omitted guys in a minute, but if McCloskey can't make it, I mean, we're really pleased for Hume to be in the squad because he's been in cracking form for Ulster all season. Ringrose and Henshaw are a pretty reliable combo. Aki's got a bit of bulk to bring back to NZ, and then Frawley with the playmaking. Again, I don't know if you chuck him in against the All Blacks for his first cap, but Māori All Blacks potentially. And then outside backs, Earls, Hansen, Keenan, Larmour, Lowe, Lowry, and Jimmy O'Brien. Jimmy O'Brien's the only uncapped guy. He's been having a pretty good season for Leinster, looking very dangerous. Lowry is probably still behind Keenan in the pecking order. There's no probably about it. He's definitely still behind Keenan in the pecking order, but good to see Larmour make a reappearance after, I mean, he's been out for a long time injured, but boy, did he come back with some impact for Leinster, footwork and whatnot. I mean, I would still imagine the back three for Ireland is Keenan at fullback, Lowe on the left wing, and then do you go Hansen? Maybe. I don't know. Based on what we've seen previously, maybe. But yeah, I'm sure Andy Farrell will have a few plans up his sleeve. Other guys who are out, Ballacoon, which is tragic because that guy has been in genuinely very good form for Ulster and just looking very dangerous. He's genuinely something quite different from what you've got. He's this big rangy runner, can get literally above guys with his hands and get balls away, so very quick. And Andrew Conway, Mr. Consistent, is also out injured, so him, Kelleher, Farrell, Conway, Ballacoon, those guys all officially named on the squad naming post to be unavailable. I think Jack Carty also only recently had surgery, so I think they said a long time ago he was not even going to be in the conversation for the New Zealand tour as well. Whether he would have made it or not, it's another question because he still seems to be the third guy. But yeah, he's another one I don't think was fit. McCloskey is one of the guys who I mentioned being omitted. He had a pretty big game in the URC semi-final the other day, especially defensively, but doesn't make the squad. He's a big lump of a man, but not preferred. Jack O'Donoghue for Munster. I'm guessing his career is going to be, how many caps has he got? Like less than 5, I think. But, I mean, every time I've seen him play for Munster this season, he's been in absolute cracking form, but he seems to be behind his teammate Coombs and some of the other guys in the squad. But just in terms of pure form, I think that guy would have been worthy of a shout. Ross Byrne seems to have fallen behind his brother in the pecking order. There's always question marks about that guy kind of being, is that a cricket reference to say a flat track bully? Like when his team's on top, he runs the show well, but when he's under the pump, he's not the guy to step up. I'm not sure if that's an unfair assessment, but that's one that I hear a lot about Ross Byrne anyway. Ross Maloney has also been in good form for Leinster in the second row, but can't crack the squad. He's another guy who, age-wise, is maybe that kind of ship has sailed. We'll have to wait and see if he's ever able to get in. Cooney, I suppose, at scrum half would have been another potential option. But yeah, I think overall you'd have to be pretty pleased with the way the Irish squad is looking. It's not like stupidly experimental. I don't think New Zealand is the place where you go in and chuck all the debutants and whatnot in. But the fact they do have those 2 games against the Māori All Blacks means there can be a bit of experimentation. And some of the squad players who may not get games in the tests can still be part of the team. They can still get that experience and they can actually get some genuine game time against some pretty good players. So, I will be keen to see how these guys go on their tour. Andy Farrell is going to have his work cut out for him. I mean, the Irish squad's been in good form. They beat the All Blacks last year, which I'm sure will be burning on the All Blacks coaches and players. But they haven't yet won in New Zealand. Been bloody close, but not quite yet. Is this the time they get it done? My old man reckons it's going to be 2-1 to the All Blacks. So he reckons Ireland get their first win on New Zealand soil on this tour. What do you guys reckon? Are you happy with the squad? Who do you think is the starting 15 out of this lot? I'm sure there's some other guys that I missed who could have been worthy of a shout for the squad, but maybe haven't made it. But anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts. And yes, I will talk to you guys again soon.